Hey, I'm Anna Margaret of Coffee Constructors. Today I'm going to be walking you through the basics of body paint. Body paint can be hugely intimidating, but it can be a really great way to cosplay some fantasy characters that might not have the same skin tone as you. I do want to be very clear though that I'm talking about fantasy skin tones, not real skin tones that people have in real life. Blackface, race face, it's offensive and it's not okay. And so be careful and be sure that you are only trying to use body paint to achieve fantasy skin tones. Before any actual painting starts, you want to make sure that you have good tools and the correct body paint for whatever character you're trying to cosplay. There's a few different types of body paint. You can get water activated or kind of aqua face paint, cream face paint, or grease paint. All of them have different pros and cons. Personally, I prefer water activated face paint. I think that it's convenient having dry face paint and using water only when I'm using it to apply. It stays pretty well with setting spray or setting powder. I use a combination of both, and there's a wide variety of colors. It also comes off pretty easily with just water or some soap. Another type of body paint is cream body paint. This is what you probably have seen at Halloween stores or really any type of costume store. It comes in a tube or container ready to use. You can squeeze it out and put it on yourself. This is probably my least favorite type of body paint. I used this when I was doing my Deja Thoris wedding dress cosplay, and no matter how many layers of setting powder or setting spray I put on, I felt like it got everywhere. A benefit though to cream body paint is that it comes in a huge variety of colors and at lots of different physical stores. And so if you need something last minute or you want a very particular color, this can be the way to go. The third type is something called grease paint. And so grease paint is used all the time for clowns. And I would say this is probably my second favorite. I think that it applies pretty well. It can sometimes feel greasy, but it stays really well, and that can be really great for a full day of LARPing or cosplaying. Another downside though is that it's really hard to get off. And even after you take it off, there can still sometimes be a little residual color there. Really though, it's your decision what body paint is best for the costume that you're making or the cosplay that you're building around a character. Things to think about are color, matching to tights or bodysuits that you might be wearing to limit the amount of your body that you need to paint, as well as kind of putting on and off, how sensitive your skin is, and really lots of the factors I mentioned before. The next thing you need to do is get the correct supplies to apply that body paint. Typical tools you can use are things like makeup brushes and makeup sponges. I recommend getting a new makeup brush or new makeup sponge that you're going to be using exclusively for face and body paint versus using a makeup brush or a makeup sponge that you might already use for daily makeup or your typical makeup. Once you've got your supplies, you are almost ready to get painting. Before you start applying any body or face paint, you want to make sure you prep your skin. And so wash your skin first. Make sure you start with clean skin. Then you want to apply a light moisturizer. Face paint and body paint can very quickly appear caked, cracked, or dry. And so it's very, very helpful to have applied a light moisturizer before getting started. I'm specifying light moisturizer though, because if you use too heavy of a moisturizer, you can swing the other way and have your skin be a little bit too greasy. And then if you try to apply body paint or face paint, it can almost smear around and it'll be harder to lay. So clean your face, apply a light moisturizer, and I recommend using a primer, especially if you're going to be putting face paint or body paint on your face. What a primer can do is it can smooth out any imperfections in your skin, and it can also help the face paint last longer. I use a typical primer that I would use for normal makeup, but there are other body paint specific primers you can get as well. Once you have acquired your supplies, primed and moisturized your skin, you are ready to start painting. There are different strategies you can use to help the paint go smoothly over your skin. I have a makeup tutorial where I talk through how I do my knot makeup. I generally like to start with a makeup brush. I feel like it gives me a little bit more of a full coverage. From there, I move into using a makeup sponge to kind of smooth out harsh lines or creases that came from the brush strokes. Once you've applied body paint or face paint all over your skin, you're going to look very one-dimensional and very flat. So the next step that you're going to want to take is to apply contouring. Contouring and highlighting your body paint can really level up your cosplay because rather than looking kind of one-dimensional and flat, you can make it appear like it's your real skin tone. I generally like to use different colored eyeshadows for my contouring. I'll try to get at least 3 different tones. A tone that's just maybe one step darker than the face paint or body paint I just put on, work to an even darker shade, and then applying highlighter in a lighter shade. You can also kind of move away from just the color you're using. For instance, when I'm using red body paint, I might also add some purple tones in there. And this contouring can make your face look more 3D, look more real. As you're contouring and highlighting, I definitely recommend blending everything you're adding. When you blend in this contouring, it can make it look like the color is coming from your skin rather than laying on top of your skin. I generally like to blend with setting spray every single color I'm adding. So I'll do the full set of face paint, and then I'll use setting powder all over it. I'll add my first color for contouring. I'll then blend in that color with some more setting powder. I'll move to an even darker tone, emphasizing the creases in my skin or where shadows would naturally be. Add more setting powder. Finally then, I'll add some highlighting tones, set that the same way. I think that you can't set too much. The last thing you want is to have body paint and face paint getting everywhere, and so the more careful you can be setting it, the longer your face paint will last and the less mess that you'll have later. Last thing, kind of already talked about it, is you want to set your face paint and set your body paint. Even if you're adding some setting powder as you go through your contouring process, I recommend using more. Maybe have a layer of setting spray at the very end. Try to keep everything locked in place. The more careful you are setting your body paint, the longer it'll last and the less hassle you'll have with body paint and face paint getting everywhere. Both water activated paint and grease paint are pretty easy to set and keep in place. If you're using cream paint, you have to be even more careful because it's even harder for that to stay locked in place. I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of some body paint basics. And if you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.